All right, first call of April. So I cannot believe tomorrow's already the 5th. March was just kind of nuts. It flew by super fast, and we had major things going with the team. So we're kicking off April already, 4 days in, and I wanted to make sure that everybody is up to par with what's going on within our Beachbody world. That we had a significant drop in our Beachbody On Demand All Access Challenge Pack, which was already nuts that it was given at $199. It's down to $160 this month. This month is really when people start pushing because, for us, we came back from Unleash the Power and everybody's really focusing on their health and their fitness. But really, this is the time when people start to get really focused because summer's around the corner. It starts to warm up. It's a great reminder of like, oh God, swimsuit season. So now's the time to start talking to people. And this is something that, I'm pushing everybody to do is step outside of your comfort zone, start talking about what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're passionate about it, and what you're wanting to do with the opportunity that you guys have. And that is helping other people. Earlier, I just posted 2 amazing transformations that occurred just in the month of March from Robin and I's school friend that, are adults now. And then somebody that participated in a free group that we were just kind of educating everybody on what we have to offer. And she was somebody who said that she's never succeeded at finishing anything. And I thought, man, she's going to be a tough one. And she joined our group and she kicked ass. She finished size. She jumped into P90. She had great results. Her husband's coming home from being deployed and she got results. And so these are the things that we need to start telling people, these real life stories of what we do, and not just join my challenge group because people don't understand. The Ashton had great results and she had failed every time in the past because she didn't have support. That's our job. So make sure that you're not doing, using lingo of people that are not in our, circle of influence, that don't know what we're talking about. Don't use acronyms, don't abbreviate stuff. Be very descriptive as if the person you're talking to has never heard anything about what we do or what products that we use to get the results that we have. So that is a big deal. There should be no problem for you to help at least 3 people in your life this month get started working towards our goals, because $160 for over 800 workouts, plus we're having some major releases coming this year. I mean, that is a huge steal, like a huge steal. One thing that is coming up as well is this weekend is Super Saturday weekend. Most of you know or may not know, but Ryan and I are headed out to Hawaii on Saturday for our 8th anniversary. So I was not able to attend a Super Saturday, and I made a deal with myself back in 2012 that I would not miss an event. So I'm hosting a virtual Super Friday at 12 o'clock. You guys are more than welcome to jump on. Please don't let that to substitute actually going to one, because there is seriously power in showing up to live events. I will be doing a small training, a recap of the playbook that Christina Lewis and Charlie and Amanda and I and Dawn went to in March. There's going to be another one in Pittsburgh in May. I'll be doing a recap of that, and we have some great announcements. I've gotten a skinny on some of the announcements you'll be excited about. So if you can, jump on that. If not, make sure that you get to a local Super Saturday. These are the things that drive your business, because you're around people that are like-minded and you have that, motivation, that encouragement, the vibe, and you're showing up on social media, that telling people that you really are committed to what you have said you're going to do as a coach. So, there's not going to be a call this next week because we're going to be in Hawaii, and then at the end of the month many of us are leaving for Punta Cana. So this month's a little bit weird, but I will be doing. This is the only team call that we're doing. I'm going to be doing one for my personally sponsored coaches, the second or the third Tuesday in the month. So if you're one of my personally sponsored coaches, keep that in mind. So anyways, I wanted to do this call because we're just coming back from Unleash the Power. Brandon and Robin and I came back for our second time. Gina's on the call. She went to her first event as well. She's not a coach, but she's somebody that I've connected with, and so she jumped on, so maybe she'll be able to share some of her thoughts. But Rachel went as a first-time Tony person, and so I wanted to just get on and kind of do like a little round table here of sharing what we all thought it was going to be like going in, and kind of what it ended up being like, and some of the takeaways we had. In the end, I'm going to kind of close with the realities that I have had since I went in November and the second time, but I wanted to just pass it around. So I don't know, Rachel, did you want to start off? You're like the first person in the line of speaking on. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yes, this was my first Tony event, and I've been following him for the last year of my whole journey, and I worship the man. He just really speaks my language, and it was absolutely a dream come true. My expectations going in were, I was certain it was going to be a life-changing experience. I knew that's what it is. And so that was my expectation going in. I wanted to conquer. Babe, can you do something? And I wanted to conquer what I thought was just a food addiction. And that was my number one issue going in was, I'm addicted to food. And so, okay, let's see if I can hey. And what I realized was, the things that he does and the tricks and the tips and the exercises and the jumping around and everything, it's just like, it gets you to realize that like the things that you thought were the biggest problems are not exactly, not exactly your problem was. And so it was really powerful to realize that like, I don't have a food addiction. What I have is like a willpower problem or struggle. And I was just lacking the tools. I was lacking the knowledge of realizing how strong I really am and the power that I really have. And that's what I took away, is that I freaking rock and we all freaking rock, and there is nothing that we can't do. I mean, it's a total 100% mind shift. And there are, tools that he uses, there's exercises, and there's, breathing techniques, and just simply like putting on a song that makes you shake your ass for 5 minutes can just in an instant, like he says, change everything. I made a major decision while I was there. On Thursday, the first day, I was just blown away by everything. And I decided, Tony said something, he's pretty anti-medication. And, everybody has their own opinions, and I'm not telling you any of this, like saying you have to do this, but, Wednesday night, the night before the first day, that was the last night I took my antidepressants, and I had been on them for 7 years off and on, and I have been off of them for almost 2 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks, and I'm not at all telling you if you're on antidepressants, get off them, because it has not been easy. This last 2 weeks has been an emotional roller coaster, and I've struggled with whether to get back on them, but I'm going to hold off, and I'm going to get back and just, dig deep into the things I learned at Tony, get back on my workouts, because it's been crazy since we got back. I've been moving and kids and, the whole spiel. But I know what I need to do, and I've got the tools, and I've got the support, and I'll never lose what I learned there. That was a completely mind-blowing experience that I will cherish for the rest of my life. And I've already committed to going to that same event every single year, and I think we all have. Because there's something, you learn something, and I know Mindy and Brandon and Robin can attest to, they learned something completely different this time around than they did in November. Things that, completely different issues. So anyways, it far exceeded my expectations, and I love Tony even more than I did before, which I didn't think was very possible. So that is my 2 cents.
That's awesome. Thanks, Rachel. I appreciate your sharing the story, and just I look forward to watching the changes that you make, because it's been a blessing for me to be able to see the changes that people have made from the group that I went with originally in November, and then now, new people transitioning. So I'll let Robin go next.
Okay. Hey guys. So this was my second time attending UPW. I went with Mindy and Brandon in November, and I went in with pretty high expectations because I knew how transformational it was going to be. And I had another epic experience that was completely different from the first time around. And I had the same thing that Mindy and Brandon and I talked about this while we were there. It's like, we're kind of like having a struggle to think of these things and issues we want to work on. But as the days go on, like all of a sudden stuff is popping up that didn't seem so obvious to me. When I went in November, I was able to work on some really deep grief and pain and loss and worthy issues because they were the predominant feelings in my life. And I'd kind of been on a high ever since November, and even like almost every day was a great day and I was in a great mood. And even if some crappy thing happened, it just boom, gone, like moved on and took back my day. And oh my gosh, my dog is like driving me bonkers. Kids, dogs, they're all in the way. And it was an interesting experience to be there again because I thought, okay, well, I've kind of fixed like all the things that I have identified myself as for almost 37 years. I fixed them pretty much in November. But then all these deeper things started coming out, and it was a different experience to try to figure that out. I didn't do the fire walk the first time in November, and I had a lot of, not exactly guilt, but regret. I wish I had done it because after I saw what it was, I was like, oh, I could totally do that. But I was not in the mental and emotional state to do it at that time. And I talked to one of the people who is a volunteer crew at the event, and she told me she didn't do the fire walk the first time and helped me understand, like reminded me something that Tony said about it. Like you do things, the fire walk is an analogy for whatever, but you do things when you cannot take another year, another month, another day, another moment of whatever it is that is holding you back in your life. And so it wasn't the right time for me in November, and it was the right time for me this time last weekend in LA because I was so excited and rearing to go for that fire walk. I could not wait. And in November, I told Minnie that day was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, which is utterly ridiculous because I've done some really hard shit. But I couldn't wait. I was the first one in line in our lane. I was standing there like clapping, yes, 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 like going, oh God, maybe no, 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 but yes, yes, yes. I was the first one across the fire, and it was an incredible feeling of like, I just did that. Oh my gosh, dog, you stop. I'm having an emotional talk right now, Hunter. And what Haley, who is Mindy's daughter, was standing right behind me. She was next in line, and she told me afterwards she was watching the lanes, and I was the first person out of 9,000 people to walk across that fire. I got across first. And that was just such an epic thing for me to hear and to feel, and I haven't let go of that feeling that like I can do hard things. And before Tony, I was not a person that could do hard things. I was a person who could whine about hard things and complain a lot about them and make up a lot of excuses as to why it wasn't going to work for me and why I couldn't do it. But that shifted, and with the first UPW, to where I was ready and so excited to go this time. So I had a different focus coming in this time because I was not going to miss that fire walk. I felt like I needed that redemption. And after having the talk with the crew member who reminded me of Tony's words, I was like, yes, this is my time. So it's been an interesting experience in this last week, reflecting on how I have felt this week versus the first week home after the first time we attended. I think I'm more prepared now to dig into my deep feelings. And I'm doing that much more this time around than I did the first time, because the first time I was just on such a freaking emotional, crazy high. I was just high on life. And I feel that way now. I haven't lost that feeling, but I'm also more stronger and more prepared to face the issues that I still have to work with. Because as amazing as Tony is, he's not a magician and he's not going to fix you like that. You can fix you like that, but he can't do it for you, and you have to do the work. So that's pretty much been my experience since we came home. I'm still doing the work because we're all a work in progress and we're never done.
So I love that. So I did a call, y'all, with one of our friends who's part of our team that went with Robin and Brandon and I in November. And she had a big case of FOMO, she said, because she wasn't there with us and we all wanted her to be there. But she was like, when she met Robin, it was for the very first time. And she said that, you know, it was nothing negative against Robin, but she was like, she could tell in November that Robin was just in this space where she really needed some help and to get out of that negative mindset. And she watched this person that was a stranger have this transformation in front of her eyes, and then she watched us from the sidelines from home on the second one, and she was like, this Robin is not the same Robin that I met. She is magnificent, she is amazing, and she is like so transformed since then. And then I told her, I'm like, you know, not to burst Robin's bubble, and yes, you're correct, but what she didn't realize was what was going on at the event. There were some things that were being dug up and brought to the surface that Robin and I were working through, and it came to, you know, through us coming home, and we've worked through it. And that was the greatest thing about going together as a group, was that we had time to reflect on this, and that we learned these skills and these coping things, and we learn how to help other people. And so when Robin, you know, kind of everything came to the forefront, once we got home, we were able to get on a call, and I was able to, you know, have a connection with her, get her back into where she needed to be, and get her focus on where she needed to be. But it was so funny to hear other people's, rendition of what they were noticing. And I will say that Robin has really shed a lot of, these old belief systems that held her back and that she let define her. And she's lost, 50 pounds. And most of her weight was literally in 2016 that she lost. But if you look at her pictures, the significance from the time she came to my house in January until March when we went to Tony was like a totally different person, even though the bulk of the weight was lost in 2016. And it was like this happiness, this glow, and there's still work that needs to be done. But I just see that these tools that have been happening and being utilized have led to big results. And this is the thing that we talk about in coaching and in life, is that there's that compound effect, which Robin knows, the author of the compound effect, her husband does. And it's the little things in life that add up and equal big results. And so, I think with Tony, a lot of us went in like expecting great results. And what I've noticed is that we've had great results, big results in the last couple of months since the very first event. However, they all kind of were really, really, really small adjustments, and it wasn't anything like earth-shattering per se. But it's been the utilization of what we learned over time. So that was just my take on Robin. Brandon, did you want to share?
Excuse me, as I'm still sick. Ever since we got back, I got a nasty cold. And it hasn't been very fun. I actually haven't really even reflected a whole lot on this past UPW. It did reiterate from my first one of where, I'm seeking growth in relationships. And those are two big areas I'm working on that I need to focus on, as well as I want to get more into meditation and get more down deeper to my emotional side, which I'm still struggling with. Maybe that's just the guy in me. I don't know. But so yeah, that's where I need to kind of go, and that's where I'm going to keep going and keep working towards. I've been dealing, as soon as UPW is over, I flew to Kansas to visit my grandmother, Michelle's grandmother as well. She's not doing very well. So I really just, I got a lot of work still ahead of me, but, it's going to take me some time, and that's all I really have.
So with Brandon, he went with us for the first time in November, and he was offered a job while we were there. And it was something that obviously took some consideration, but he decided to take it. And he's taken the job since then. It's opened up so much. And so from, a best friend's perspective, like I see major change in Brandon and his ability to step out of his comfort zone and try these new things. We're going to be traveling out of the country for the first time together at the end of the month. We're jazzed. I watched the relationship that him and I have, and Robin and I have, and my husband and him have, just completely become so much stronger at this event. And so his ability to connect has definitely shifted. He bonded very well with my daughter, who we met for the very first time, and like they instantly clicked. And so these are the things that, I think that we don't give ourselves credit for when it's happening for us, but to look from the outside in is amazing. And a lot of people don't know the story, but Brandon lost his mom to cancer and his grandma's sick right now. And, there's these things that can literally bring people to their knees because of things that happened in the past that cause a lot of grief and sorrow and sadness and deep, deep pain. But I watched Brandon make the decision that he was going to Tony Robbins with us, and he was present when he was there. I feel that he was fully present, in mind and body and spirit. And he, without hesitation, everybody was exhausted, because it's long days at Tony, well worth it. But, he was, run down, and he got, an early flight. He went to his grandma's. We talked. He was where he needed to be, and he came back tired and sick. But I will say that he came back in a lot better headspace than I think that he would have had we not left Tony Robbins. And Amanda's not on the call right now. She's had a very tough couple days, but her mom was put on life support right before we left, and she made the decision to go because her mom wanted her to go. And she had some major breakthroughs that I'm not going to share because I don't have her permission to share. I think that she would let me, but I don't have it, so I'm not going to share it. But she had some major breakthroughs while she was there, and she's now finalizing everything because her mom has passed away since we've been back. But she has been very diligent about working with us because we've been doing this 10-day detox that was a challenge that was put together by Tony and his business partner, Joseph McClendon. And we've been going strong, and she's been helping, and she's been giving. And this was something that kind of ties in with what Rachel was talking about, was that, Tony doesn't believe in medication. He's not saying that everybody throw out their pills, but there's ways to cope with anxiety and depression and sadness and stuff that can help you get to the point where you don't need to depend on medication. And so, with Rachel, I've watched her be able to get through these really scary times because she's had our support, because this has bonded our friendships, our teams together, and she's in the right space to make the right decisions for her mom. And we have permission. She's in the right headspace for this. And, she had this epiphany that she shared with me on day 3 was that Tony Robbins talks about, to create lasting change, you need to look at what you're doing, a habit that you're doing that is not producing the results that you want. And you need to be able to associate pain with that, and also pain with that habit in the past and leading to the future. So this is Dickens pattern process that you go in and you think about these belief systems that have held you back. Like, I'm too fat, I'm too short, I'm too Asian, I'm too, whatever. I've had for me, it was abandonment issues. That was what I came up with in November. And you go in and he gets you to visualize what your life is going to be like if you continue on this path for another year, another 2 years, another 5 years, because most people don't have people asking those questions, getting them to think about that. And it's the most eerie, weird, trippy, cool thing that happens in this auditorium of 9,000 to 10,000 people, where you hear this pain that is released from these people, from men and women, of the thought of what these belief systems are going to do to their mental and emotional state, to their relationships, to their kids, to their business. And then he shifts it to, what if you change right now? What if that pain is unbearable? What would your life be like in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years? And then the most joyous sound in the whole entire world, like that I compare it to, like the sound of babies crying or laughing is like magical. But there's like 9,000 people who literally an hour before were screaming like they were in the most intense pain, to all of a sudden they have this joy. It was like the most immense like flood of amazing feelings that I have ever felt. And to watch Tony's face on the screen, and he looked at us with nothing but pure love. It wasn't that, oh, I succeeded as a guru or whatever, or but like he loved each and every one of us, and it was amazing. And so in this process, Amanda shared with me that she realized that she has to do something about her life now, because if she doesn't, she will easily be her mother, who was at that point dying in a hospital, who had went through stroke after stroke, and that she couldn't do that to her child, and that she had to let her daughter Nadia go and not be so dependent on her and so scared of fucking up her kid. And so these were these breakthroughs that was like these defining moments. And I know that this process of change is real, because for me, I am 520 days sober, and I drank my whole entire life ridiculously. And whenever I finally realized the damage it had done for years to my family, to my relationships, and then I woke up on October 25th, hungover as hell, and couldn't figure out my night before in 2015, I associated that pain right then. And then I was able to look that if I continue this, my life is not going to get any better. And I decided that. And in that instant, I changed. I haven't looked back, and I've remained sober. And so these are the things that I had already done without Tony's help. But then once Tony talked about it, I was like, oh, that's how. And now that this is what I'm doing to help people on our team and people that come to me for my help, that I'm taking what I'm learning from Tony and I'm applying that and teaching them how to create lasting change. And, these were the things that happened at Tony. Gina, I don't want to put you on the spot because I know you jumped on, but did you want to share your takeaways or what you expected? I don't know if you are comfortable, so I'm not putting you on the spot.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So I actually went to Tony Robbins' seminar because I went there for business purposes. Like, oh, this is totally gonna, grow my business by, 200%. I went there with my team, my business partners too, and it was an experience that I can't even put to words, but I try when, people are like, hey, so what was this thing that you went to? But it the first few days when I would tell people that, it was literally giving me goosebumps, and it would come up. But basically I tackled some things that I'm a very positive person as it is, but it just really broke through to the things that really affected how I am in relationships, dating, my relationship with my mom, my relationship with my family, and just how I feel about myself. And I really just feel like I'm this new person, we talked about, or you talked about earlier. And it's put me on this high of I can do those things. Why do I limit myself to, being here when I can be right up, there's no limit to it. And it brings me to tears just to even think about the things that everyone was going through, those 9,000. You can't even explain the feeling of being in that room. I mean, I'm pretty sure whoever went, you can't even explain it. It just gave me goosebumps. I even took a step back just to kind of do a panorama for my own self, and it brought me to tears just even seeing that, and the breakthrough that these 9,000 people had at one time. It was I'm literally getting goosebumps right now as I'm talking. But it was such an amazing experience. Those of you who have not gone before, I would highly, 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 highly recommend it. I listened to Tony Robbins' podcast and listened to his audiobooks, but it's a million times bigger than that. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So in closing, I just want to reiterate the fact that, when I started my whole journey that led me to all of this, I literally started 5 plus years ago because I wanted to lose weight. It literally didn't occur to me that anything else was missing, but I thought if I poured myself into that, I look good, everything would be great. And it wasn't. It wasn't until I got into Beachbody that I started to feel good about myself. And then I was like, I want to keep this feeling. And so I started following successful people in the business that I was in and that had the results that I had. And that's the whole success leaves clues. And that's what drew me into personal development. Jason Diebold, who is part of our organization, plugged me into Craig Holiday. He plugged me into Danny Johnson. I went and I had my whole world rocked. I thought that the same thing like that Gina did when I went to Tony or to Danny Johnson. I was like, oh, it's going to help my business. It's all about, success. And then I went and I'm like, next thing I know, I'm sitting next to strangers, bawling my eyes out. And then I'm just like, mind fucked and completely got my soul rocked. And I came back and I was a totally different person. And I came back and I was alone. Like I was alone to like share my joy, and I spread it along, and I brought people to Danny Johnson back with me that year. But from that moment forward, I realized that these events were monumental to my growth, monumental to my success, monumental to me breaking past these barriers. In 2013, I learned to forgive, which changed everything about my relationships. And so I started watching what Jason was doing. He was going to Tony. I will never forget a picture that he posted after he came back from a flight from India when he went to watch Tony. And so, I think that any tired feeling that we had leaving San Jose in November, Los Angeles this last month was nothing compared to India. And I just remember thinking, bucket list items. And I didn't even get, the full, what it was meant. I just knew that he was successful. He took an interest in me. He continuously did that, so I wanted to do that because I knew that success leaves clues, and it took a long time for me to get there. But when I went in November, I came back and I applied the 2 millimeter shift that he talks about, and I've talked about it in the past team calls. I actually want to get a tattoo, something about the 2 millimeter shift, because all my tattoos that I have on my body all represent something, and it's a reminder of what I need to do to be the best me. But I did that. And so we went back, and as soon as we came back, me and Brandon were like, dude, we're going back in March. We want Rachel to fucking go. Anybody else who wants to go, we're going to go. And Brandon and I, before we could even think about it, we were already we were there. My kids, I came back, I was jazzed. I was jumping around saying, you freaking rock, and shake that ass. And my family looked at me like I was crazy. They tried to play along, and we went. And that's when my family said, well, can we go? And I learned a long time ago not to force anybody to do what they don't want to do. And then that's when my husband said, who's going? And I listed off Robbins going, and, Rachel's going, and Brandon's going, and Sam's going, and blah, 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 blah. And, he's like, well, me? And I was just like, oh, you want to go, and I learned to tone it down a minute, don't get all crazy. And so he wanted to go. And I learned that this time I was going to let him have his own experience. I wasn't going to dictate it. I wasn't going to already preface the way I thought it was going to go down. I was going to let him have his own experience because he deserved that, and I couldn't force it. And as the days went on, the more excited we got, and we showed up, and I let him have his own experience. I didn't watch him. I didn't meddle. I didn't ask. I didn't pursue anything. I didn't control him. I just let him do it. And I watched my daughter do the same thing. And I watched her glom onto Robin. I watched them grow this relationship of love and respect, and that I didn't have those role models as children. And that's why I thought I was so broken and so screwed up. And that's why I made so many bad mistakes, because I was just clinging to connection. And my children are linked to amazing people. My son Rebel adores Brandon, and Brandon adores him. And these are the things that light my soul on fire to help people to watch the I don't know, everything that just transpired in front of me. And then I watched my husband. I watched him play full out. I watched him to go in there. And I had these aha moments of what held me back, of what held me back in my relationship, what held me back in life. And it was crazy because Robin and I and Brandon talked about man, I wish we had brought our books from November, because it was really tough this year, because we made so much growth that we didn't even realize. And so I think that we live in such a busy world that we going to these events, at least annually, are a good gut check, because we get so complacent of where we are, and we get so busy that we don't stop and give ourselves credit of how far we went. But I had gone so far. And like this time, I kept asking Rob and Brandon, I'm like, did he talk about this at the last one? They're like, yeah. And I realized that even though I said I was ready in November, I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. And then I wasn't ready to really accept it. But this time I went in and I was ready to accept it. And I left with my soul on fire. Like, I had a more life-changing event at this one than the first time. Like, I've cried. I've been excited. I feel like everything has lined up in my life the way it is, spirituality-wise, friendship-wise, marriage-wise, that everything has happened exactly the way it is. And I can't but help give complete thanks to Beachbody for pushing us to do this. Like, I put in the work, I put in the money, I put in the time, I put in the belief, I put in the work when I came home. So I'm giving myself the credit for doing that. But if it wasn't for Beachbody, a company that's not product-based, that is people-based and results-based, then I wouldn't be where I am. I would still be lost. My family would still be off track. I finally feel like I have some balance. And I watched our team grow together. I watched the culture strengthen. I watched that, just miraculous things. Like Gina said, you had to be there to get it. And we literally sound like crazy people. I've done some live videos since I came back, and I'm like, man, if you weren't drinking the Tony Robbins Kool-Aid, you'd be like, this chick has lost it. But when you're there, when you immerse yourself in it, when you play full out, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you're honest with yourself, when you go in with the intention of something's got to give and I want more out of my life. Like, I realized that amongst the 9,000 people, we were in the top 2%, of the world. Not everybody, the 2% of the world was there, but we represented a portion of that top 2% because we want to grow. And we have this ability to take what we learned and influence others, to teach them that they are stronger than they believe, that they always have had that at their fingertips. And like, this has been life-changing. And like, now, like what Rachel said, it was like my family and I made the decision that this is going to be an annual thing. Like, this is going to be an annual thing, because I want to have those markers to see how far I came. I want to have those refreshers. I want to pick up the things that I wasn't ready to accept, like the last time. I want this to be something that is part of our family. Like, my kids are already talking about being part of the crew. I'm going to Date with Destiny in December. Like, I want these breakthroughs. I want it not for myself. I wanted to teach my children that they can do anything, and that I may not be able to give everything that they need, but I have the resources, and those resources are you and you and you and you and you. And together, it takes a village of strong people to change the generation. And the power of influence is huge. I've been in a group, and I was talking about bringing Rebel and bringing Haley, and people were like, oh, you brought your kid? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, look what he was doing. Hold on. They're like, we're bringing our kid next time. That's the power of influence. We have the ability to change our next generation. It doesn't matter what company you represent. It doesn't matter what job you do. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what you're struggling with. But we together have that ability to make a huge impact. And that's my mission now, is that to go in and learn. There was a point in my life where money was a big deal, because I was making money and I'd never made it before. And I came from poverty for nothing. And now I'm just like, I want to sell my diamond ring. I want to sell my cars. I want to spend all my money immersing myself in doing better things, because I want to give back to people. Because when you give back to people, you live a good life. Like, you live a good life. And that's what Tony's doing. I watch the news, and this has nothing to do with who you support at all. And I don't want it to be that way, but I was watching the other day about how Trump is cutting funding from Meals on Wheels. And I just thought, God, that is so different than what we're coming from. We're coming from Tony, who's just feeding the poor, give back. He gives millions of dollars and billions of dollars to people for the good. And he is like ranked like number 6 in like the profitability of the richest men in the world. And he has got, like, literally, if he told me, I did walk across poles, but if he told me to do anything, I would do it. He has a good heart, and I want one day for him to meet our CEO because they are cut of the same cloth. They want to help people more than put money in their pocket. And what you get from him, he over delivers. You have to put the work in. It's not some magic miracle thing like Robbins said. You don't just show up, immerse yourself in Tony for 4 days, and come back a changed person. It does take work, but he gives you all the tools right there. And like, he is a good person. The look of love in his eyes as he cried, and he watched everybody, like, these sounds of like joy was like the most amazing feeling in the whole entire world. And then to look at his face, and he was crying and his wife was crying, that there was like a defining moment of him, that he was back in the city where he started from nothing, and he helped these people make these breakthroughs. And he knew without a shadow of doubt that most of us were going to come home with a better life because of that. And I'm like, that is a good soul. Like, that's what I want to be. Like, I want to have that soul. I want to have that. And I want that for my children. And the biggest thing for me is like that I get emotional about is that, you know, we talked about it leaving, and my Haley was like, she stayed late that day because I brought Rebel and I left at around 10:30 every night to get him to sleep. And my Haley was like, I'm staying with Brandon and Robin. She was so addicted to this. And, you know, she was telling me the stories the next day. She was like, oh, Mom, it got so much better after you left. Tony was like in love with everything that was going on. He had tears in his eyes and he was like so taken back. And at that point, I realized that I did my job as a mom, that my child has empathy, that she saw that and she saw the beauty in life, and she would have never found that if I had have not found Beachbody. And so when I say Beachbody saved my life and they saved my family, I mean it 100%, because these things weren't important to us. And they are important to us. And like that, when I had to leave to take care of my son, my best friends were there, and that they took care of my kid. And Brandon was so protective of her, and so was Robin. And they were there, and they enjoyed that. And it's bonding them for life. And my kids have good role models. Like, we're going to be okay. I don't know who the fuck my kids are going to end up being. I don't know where we're going to live 5 years from now, if we're going to still be in Texas, if we're going to move here or there. But I know that we're going to be okay. Like, I know that we're going to be okay. And there's literally no price that you could put on that. And I thank the person who gave me this opportunity. I thank the fact that I had enough moral fortitude to jump in and embrace this with everything that I have. And that I've been able to step out of my comfort zone and share with people, and that we've went, and that this is something that I'm changing my generations, because long after I'm gone, my kids are going to be the only thing on this planet that even signal that I ever lived. And I'm instilling them with the ability to be proud of who their mom is, and learn the skills so that they can make a mark on the world, and that they're so much more important than iPhones and Snapchat and cars and college. And, you know, these were the things that were like so important to me. And like, my values are so aligned, and my husband's values are aligned, and that like these things like sound silly, but you guys all deserve this. Like, there's so many of you that watch this go, and you say, oh, I wish I was there. You could be there. Like, we're going every year, and we talk, we communicate, we post, we talk about this. I've met some amazing people from the UPW group. Gina's one of them. Like, that these are these people that are going to help us. Like, I've listened to these people that have different stories. These are the people that are going to bring quality into my life. Like, and I'm going to bring quality, I hope, into their life. And this was all because of an event. The event was like $550. Like, I mean, come on. People piss away that much. That's how much our cell phone bill is for our family. Like, come on. Like, come on. Like, you can do this. Start planning ahead. You deserve this. You have that. And the biggest takeaway I have from me was, I'm not fucking broken. There's nothing wrong with me. There's literally nothing wrong with me. I live with that belief my whole entire life. I'm fine. There's people with worse shit out there. I'm fine. I literally am fine. Like, I feel ridiculous for feeling so sorry for myself as long as I did. And so those are the things that I got from this. And more than anything, like, my people, my friends, my love, my connection, that's what keeps me going. It doesn't matter who stays or who goes. Like, people mean everything to me. And the fact that we're bringing people along, I'm seeing them have transformation. This is why I'm here. So anyways, that's my long rant. April's going to be a kick-ass month for us. Take the things that we have, apply them, go in. You know, I've shared all of my links of all of my, I've uploaded all my CDs and all the stuff with Tony Robbins. It's all there. It's all there. All you have to do is listen to it. I can't make you do it. If you don't do it, it's not my problem. But I'm here to encourage you. Like, I hear this all the time. I want to be like you, or Robin's doing so great, or somebody's doing so great, or I want this and I want that, or I want to quit my job, or I want to help people, and then they don't do it. Like, it takes action. And I have all of the stuff there for you, the tools to provide for you to get there. All you have to do it. I can't hold a gun to your head and make you do it. But I bet you if somebody said your kids are going to die, and if you don't do something with your life now and you need to change, you would change. But don't wait for shit like that to happen. Change now, because you're going to be stuck in your life now. And most people are unhappy, and they're trying to fulfill these gaps in their life with alcohol, with drugs, with shopping, with, their kids and different things. Like, you have that ability to change your life. And there's going to be more and more that rolls out from our team as you see the changes made. But you are worthy. You are able and capable and worthy of all of this. And I want you guys to have this. I want your families to have this. I do. And so anyways, I hope that you got some takeaways from our, what we learned. Everybody's experience is different when you go, but when you go with an open mind, major things can happen. And, for me, this all started with just health and fitness, so I don't have all the answers for you, but I can tell you exactly what I did to get where I am. And then if you start now, your life 5 years from now can be immensely different, and you can be so goal-oriented, and your goals are your goals. But anyways, that's all I have. Thank you guys for your time. If you guys have any questions, reach out to any of us who attended, and just stay tuned with our team, because we will be announcing when we go sometime in 2018. My next event is going to be Date with Destiny in December, and then after that, we'll go to a UPW in 2018. So thank you guys. Love you guys. Kick ass this month. I want you guys all to reach out to 3 people, asking them if they want to get healthy and fit and what their goals are, and help 3 people this month. Okay?
You freaking rock.
You do too, Gina. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks, George, too.
Bye,
Bye, everybody.